How are we? Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Saturday. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you all for joining and welcome back for another deadline stream. It is game week 36. We have got only 3 deadlines left and it is our final Saturday morning deadline stream of the entire season. It also feels like it's been quite a while since we've had one of these. Now, I might be completely wrong and it might have been last weekend, but I feel like we've had no Saturday deadline streams in a while. Last week it was Friday. The week before it was Friday. The week before that I feel like it was Saturday. That's not for quite a few weeks though. So, yeah, because next week it is a Friday evening deadline and the week after it is of course the usual Sunday. So, yeah, final one. Thank you all. Hope you're all doing well. I have done one transfer. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, as always, at the beginning of these streams, let's get in and say hello to some of you. Good morning. And yeah, say hello in the chat. Drop a like if you haven't already. And if you are new to the stream, please do subscribe. Hello to Ian. Hello to Ewan. We've got Immortal. We've got Adrian, we've got Fiona, we've got Matt, we've got Messi10, we've got DUJSI, we've got Lolari, we've got FPL Robin. Hello to all the members and moderators in. Thank you especially for your support. We have the Pixel Pirate in as well. And to all of you, we've got the FPL Doctor, we've got Lewis, we've got Beth, ASVP, Ludwig, Anatish, Trojan, RVN, Russon, Kushi, Frostbottler, Marco, Mohammed. We've got Mo, John, James, Fiad, Anani, Alejandro, Paul, Jim, Defo, Stephen, Zane, Kate, Ngolo, Jonas, and Johnny, Gerald, Ruben, ID, Saksham, and Colin. Good morning to you all. Hello, hello. Very quickly, just to answer a couple of early super chats. Ideal Viva replacement, max 5 million on bench boost. There aren't very many. If you can't get to over 5 million, you're probably looking at Antoine Stack away at Spurs. If you don't have the ability to get up to Dewsbury Hall is probably what you're looking at, or Hinchelwood, but you need slightly over 5 million in order to get there. One free transfer, Semenyo to Turkey, means you can afford to do Morgan Gibbs-White to SAKA next week. So I spoke about this in the complete guide video around the Semenyo to Turkey move. It's not a transfer that I particularly love that much in isolation, but one of the big reasons for doing it is freeing up money. And if that money that you're freeing up with that transfer allows you to do Morgan Gibbs-White to SAKA, yes, then I would. I suppose the question is, if you're not doing Gibbs-White to SAKA this week, do you definitely do it this week rather than next week? But yes, I think probably if it frees up the money, then I would do it. You could always, I don't know how many transfers you've got. Morgan Gibbs-White to SAKA. Yeah, if that allows it to do it, then I'm happy with Semenyo to Turkey there. I'm guessing it's a no-brainer to triple captain this week. Yes, unless for whatever reason you wanted to go crazy differential and do like an Arsenal player at home to Burnley next week. But yes, this is the best opportunity to play your triple captain. Number 1, Haaland. Number 2, O'Reilly. Number 3, whichever midfielder you've got. I think I would be going on O'Reilly before I went on a midfielder. Do I not think O'Reilly is a better captain? I don't necessarily think he's better. I think he is a very close differential. But like recently he's been good, but it's still not that explosive apart from the Chelsea game. So if he does, he has the ability and probably slightly easier to get like a 15-pointer than a lot of other players because he can score. His underlying XGI data, O'Reilly, is very good. He's got 0.44, 0.81, like if this was an attacker, you'd be pretty happy with that as your XGI data. Like, if this was Haaland, we'd be saying, yeah, this is fine. 0.6, 0.7, 0.4, 0.8, 0.4. Like, it's very good. So if you do want to go against Haaland, that's why I would go on O'Reilly. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. I sold Cole Palmer last night and I bought in Bukayo Saka. I haven't even checked if Palmer dropped in price, actually. Palmer was predicted to. There was earlier on in the week, Saka was predicted to rise, but I didn't think it was worth going early. Yeah, Palmer did. Anyone else? Bowen dropped. Pascal Strout dropped. Verbruggen rose. O'Reilly rose. Welbeck rose. And Burmo dropped. Gordon dropped. Chaël dropped. Wow. Yeah, so I made the transfer. I've been pretty convinced that I don't want Saka in... Palmer in my team. I just basically came back to the fact that I've not been impressed by him for quite a long time as a Chelsea fan. I don't think his output is looking good enough, and he's way too much money. With Saka having Burnley at home in particular next week, I knew that I wanted to get Saka in. And the fixture for Saka this week versus the fixture for Palmer, the form for Arsenal, all just contributed to the fact that I was pretty happy to make that transfer. Now, this does leave me with options for two other transfers that I've spoken about, which is a defender to Lacroix, or it is Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS. People saying Biol to or over DCL. It's set up like this because I probably will buy a Palace defender, although not guaranteed, which is why I've had it set up in a 4-4-2, because that's the formation that I've planned on playing. But if I don't buy a Palace defender, then yeah, I will probably play a 3-4-3 like this. So I am dwindling a little bit on one of those transfers in particular. And that is the Palace defender. That is buying Lacroix. Now, the reason that I'm dwindling a little bit and being a little bit uncertain of it is the two defenders that I could sell is Biol and James Hill, right? Because I'm playing Van Heck this week, so I can't do Van Heck to Lacroix, really. It's not really worth it. Now, in game week 37, Biol has got Brighton at home. And in game week 38, James Hill's got Nottingham Forest away. These are defenders that are very playable in those 2 weeks. However, if I sell either of them to Lacroix, I mean, next week I could play Van Heck away at Leeds. Possible, but I'm not sure how comfortable I really feel about that, given I'll probably be playing Verbruggen. Game week 38, if I don't have Hill, I could play Van Heck at home to Manchester United. Again, fine, but I don't feel particularly comfortable about that, which makes me think if I do sell either of these, the chances are I am then making another defensive transfer. Because if I buy Lacroix, chances are I'm going to buy another defender from him in 36 or in 37 or 38. Like, I'll do Lacroix to Michael Keane in 37. And I'm just wondering if it's definitely worth two transfers. Basically, is Lacroix worth a transfer to buy and then sell? Is basically where I'm at. And I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is. So I've got the transfers. I've got 3 still in the bank. But is Lacroix worth a transfer or 2 over... Would I not just bench Lacroix going forward? So I could just bench Lacroix, but the point is if I do, like, let's say I do Jacob Biol to Lacroix, in 37, I will have Van Heck away at Leeds, which I don't particularly want to play. Lacroix away at Brentford, which I won't particularly want to play, and I'll have Hill against City. So I probably will make another defensive move next week. If I buy Lacroix, I'll play a back four. I'll bench João Pedro if I sell Calvert-Lewin. So I'm not. I am a little bit uncertain on the Palace defender about whether those two transfers are effectively better elsewhere. Now, the question is do I really want to play Jakob Biol at home to Brighton next week anyway when I'll probably have Hinchelwood? Now, I could go out and buy something else. I thought I was taking my transfers over to next season. Exactly. So if I buy a Palace defender, I won't have less transfers in Game Week 1 next year. Bowen to GYOKERS is worth it. So I think I'm going to do Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS. I mean, I could not buy Lacroix and then also not buy GYOKERS, but I think I'm going to buy GYOKERS. Is Thiago to GYOKERS worth a hit? No, I wouldn't do that. Bowen to GYOKERS for a hit for a bench boost? No, I wouldn't be taking a hit for GYOKERS, no. You'll end the transfer with 3 frees. Yeah, at the moment. You talked about bench boost this week. Was that much better than 37 due to FA Cup, etc.? But for a lot, the bench is Bowen, Thiago, and maybe Chaël. If your bench looks better in 37 than play it in 37, I was more saying it's just something to consider for your team, that if your bench boost is close between 36 and 37, then definitely play at 36 because of that FA Cup risk. So, yeah. But if your bench boost is definitely better in 37, then play it in 37. Why am I benching Hill? Fulham just scored 1 goal in their last 6. Yeah, I get that, but I still don't think he gets into my team. If I don't buy Lacroix, I will have to start one of João Pedro or Hill, probably. Yeah. So that will be a debate. I probably would play João Pedro over Hill, I think, if I had to play one. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do GYOKERS. Good chance SAKA won't play Game Week 38. I mean, so that's another reason not to buy Lacroix. Is if we get to Game Week 38 and the league is over, that transfer will be more valuable than what I think Lacroix is going to get. Like, what's Lacroix realistically going to get? I think the realistic is, let's say they concede twice to City and he doesn't get DEFCON there. So that's 1 point against City. But he gets DEFCON and only concedes 1 against Everton. So that's a 5-pointer. Now, he could get an attack in return. He could, of course, get a goal or an assist. He could keep a clean sheet. But are the clean sheet chances against Everton that high? So if he's only going to get 5 or 6 points, I think, this week, do I try and find that? Elsewhere? Basically, I'm just wondering if that transfer is more valuable elsewhere, because if I get to Game Week 38, so I've done PALMER to... you can't see that. PALMER to SAKA. So let's say I do that. And the plan is Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS, because I've got the money. And I think that I prefer João Pedro over Calvert-Lewin for the final 3. So then next week, my team looks like this. It's currently got me playing triple Brighton again, which if they're still fighting for the league, then fine. GYOKERS, SAKA, Gabriel, O'Reilly, Cherky, Haaland, João Pedro, triple Brighton with 3 transfers. I could make a transfer next week like Michael Keane. And then in game week 38, if I don't, like my team is fine, but I could definitely find improvements to it. I mean, it is 4 transfers, so maybe it's not as needed. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I'm basically wondering if I think that it's worth it to buy a Palace defender. If I'm only going to have one of them as well, is it not just better to back against them? Yeah, I mean, someone in the chat saying, I bought triple Palace defense on wildcard, but I don't think I'm going to start any of them. If you've got them, I would probably start them just because that floor is really high. Like, even if they just turn up for both games, they're still on 4 points already before any DEFCON or anything like that. So I would play them if you've got them. Start 2 out of 3. Wilson, Thiago, João Pedro. I'd bench Thiago against City. Calvert-Lewin and Hinchelwood or Welbeck, Wilson. Definitely Welbeck, Wilson. Definitely. Although I don't love Wilson as much, but I prefer Wilson to DCL and I prefer Welbeck to Hinchelwood. Start Lacroix and Munoz or Gabriel and Saliba or one of each. If you're chasing points, you bench Gabriel and Saliba. I actually had that as one of my differentials to consider for game week 36 is to bench Arsenal defence if you've got Palace. So Lacroix and Munoz if you're chasing. Sanchez to Raya or play Dubravka. I'd sell Sanchez because you're not going to want him in the final 2 games either. So, yeah, Sanchez to Raya, and I wouldn't play Dubravka. Rodgers to Saka this week or next is a good question. I would do it next week. I would just play Rodgers away at Burnley. I'd give yourself an extra week to see what we get from Saka. And yeah, I'd leave it at that. I'd wait on Rodgers to Saka, I think. Is it too early to move to GYOKERS this week? Maybe. Why? There's lots of questions about GYOKERS. Why GYOKERS now? Maybe you want double defense next week. Maybe GYOKERS starts Burnley. Maybe Havertz starts Burnley. But we're going to have no way of knowing that Havertz starts Burnley. Like, that's not a decision that's going to change really between now and the deadline. Burnley at home is a very GYOKERS game. There will be Arsenal fans in the chat that I'm sure will agree and say that Burnley at home is a GYOKERS game. More than it is a Havertz game. And yeah, I can absolutely go for double Arsenal defence. But there are other defenders who I think have a higher ceiling over the final couple of weeks than Saliba does. For 2 weeks, Saliba's going to get 12 points, right? As long as I can get a clean sheet from someone else, it's not that different. So delay the move for an extra info and do the move next week. But like we're 3 weeks away. I completely get it. And I actually think that GYOKERS is a slight risk. And I'm aware that I'm buying Saka and potentially GYOKERS, who is a minute's risk, right? But we're 3 weeks towards the end of the season. At some point, you've got to make transfers. Now, having the best triple Arsenal for Burnley at home is the best time to do it. But I also think there is an ability that Arsenal score a couple of goals against West Ham. And I think GYOKERS starts. And I think he's looked good recently. So do I want to get early on that? It was the same reasoning that I used to do Semenyo to Cherki last week. Part of it was to free up the money. But part of it was I thought that would be a really popular transfer this week. So I wanted to do it a week early to see if I can gain some points before everyone else starts doing it next week. And it's pretty similar with the GYOKERS thing. Rodrigo saying in the chat he thinks West Ham scores. I'm not buying an Arsenal defender this week. It would be either buy GYOKERS or wait and do it next week for either GYOKERS. But if I wait, chances are the forward that I would look to buy is GYOKERS. 70 minutes of GYOKERS is probably better than DCL. I also like the idea that DCL is 60% owned. And I can gamble against that with GYOKERS. Whereas Saliba away at West Ham, I'm not buying that this week. So I really do think I'm going to buy GYOKERS. I think I'm going to buy GYOKERS this week. How important is keeping free transfers in the bank this late into the game and how many? It's not. It is just possible that we get to game week 38 and you know, if Arsenal win the league in game week 37, you're going to want as many transfers as you want, because who knows if Haaland is going to start? Who knows if Cherki O'Reilly will start? Who knows if Gabriel Saka will start, right? If we get to game week 38 and the league is over because City have dropped more points, then it becomes very dicey, and it's good to have transfers. If that doesn't happen, there aren't that many great game week 38 punts. Like, who are you really using your transfers on in game week 38? Really? Like, Burnley play Wolves, so that's not great. You're not really going to buy any of them if you wanted to punt on a Burnley player. Then elsewhere, you've got Forest, Bournemouth. You're not really going to buy there. Like, question is if this was, I mean, it's probably Liverpool, right? I like Szoboszlai this week, for those asking in the chat. City midfielders, Cherki 1, Doku 2, Semenyo 3, probably. Like, who is there in game week 38 that you're going to... Who are you really going to buy? So there's no benefit to holding transfers to game week 38 that much unless the league is done, I would say. In which case it'll be very beneficial. It's just with the transfers with GYOKERS, when it's right there, like a lot of people are having to sell João Pedro to buy GYOKERS, which I would, again, like last week when I was looking at the transfers, that is part of the reason I did Semenyo to Cherki last week. Because I think I would be about 0.1 short of doing that now if I hadn't have done that transfer. I would be slightly short of it. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to buy a Palace defender if I hadn't have done that transfer last week. But that's how it would look. And yeah, it would give me a triple up here at home to Burnley with 3 transfers. I just don't know how much, like... Do I just play João Pedro? Do I just play James Hill and take James Hill's, 4, 5, 3, 4 pointer? Who do I think will win out of Borough and Southampton? I think Southampton will win, but I hope Middlesbrough will win. Is Gibbs White definitely out for game week 36? It sounds like yes. If you're on bench boost, I would definitely be selling Gibbs White. Yeah, I would be selling Gibbs White. So the thing with Gibbs White, and the reason I'm not 100% certain, is straight after the game, in sort of an interview where he was being asked about the game and then about why he brought like Murillo on, he was sort of then said Gibbs White out, Murillo out, and Doy out, and a few other players out. Like, he didn't, the way he said it, it didn't feel like he was categorically confirming that they wouldn't play at the weekend. But it very much would be surprised if any of them do play. So yes, Gibbs White, I would sell him. If I'm planning on bringing in GYOKERS next week, then I think you have to bring him in next week. I think if you've got the money to do GYOKERS in this week and you're certain you'll buy him next week, then I would just do it. But, West Ham, Arsenal could be really low scoring, right? That is possible. Start 2, Calvert-Lewin, João Pedro, Hill, Tavernier, Gross, Van Heck. Double Brighton, probably. Unless you can start João Pedro over Van Heck. If you've got like double Brighton defense, it makes you feel a bit, I don't love this going on here. Like 1 goal conceded by Brighton and suddenly all over. I don't love that. Saka or GYOKERS. I would buy Saka before GYOKERS because the alternatives to GYOKERS are better. That's why. I would buy GYOKERS before Saka. Saka before GYOKERS. Morning. Interested to know your rank in the Second Chance League. I actually don't know the answer to that. I feel like I've not had the best second half of the season. 93k, not too bad actually. I feel like last year my second rank league was crazy high. When to use the bench boost. If you've got a good bench this week, then I would just get it played. If not, then 37 if it's any better, but probably this week. Start 1, João Pedro, Rodgers, Watkins. You're chasing. Start Rodgers and Watkins against Burnley. If you're chasing, start Rodgers and Watkins. Arsenal projected goals. I can get the Rob C data up and we can have a look. I think he produced a updated version this morning. So Arsenal 1.91. They're fourth highest. Like, it's not that high, but over the next 2, they will be high because of the projections for next week. People are thinking very different on Tavernier. Some people have him. I don't understand the Tavernier. Tavernier is as close. If Tavernier was as expensive as Palmer, I'd sell Tavernier before Palmer. I don't really understand the love for keeping Tavernier now. His returns are not consistent enough. He's now not on pens. I mean, he might be on pens if Krupi's not on the pitch, but yeah, there are just much better picks, I think, than Tavernier now. Personally, yeah, I'm pretty happy. Like, Tavernier is nowhere near getting in my team. Would I trade Rodgers out to get GYOKERS? I wouldn't downgrade Rodgers this week to get GYOKERS this week. No. Opinions on getting Eze. I don't think I'd buy Eze. Really. I just wait a week and see if there's another way you can go to buy Saka. I wouldn't buy Eze this week if you can't afford Saka. I'd wait and do it next week. What do I think of O'Reilly? Any temptation to go O'Reilly captain? A few questions in the chat about captaincy. So yeah, if you've got the triple captain left, I would be playing it this week. The question is around triple captain and captain in general is who to play it on. Haaland is the boring, safe option. He's going to be about 200% owned this week. So yeah, he's going to be about 200% owned this week. So you're not going to gain very much if the only thing you're doing is captaining Haaland, but that's fine. If you want to go... Sorry, I've got something... If you want to punt differently, it's O'Reilly for me. And I understand if you want to go different and you want to triple captain O'Reilly or you want to captain O'Reilly. Here's the one that I would go with if I'm not captaining Haaland this week. Underlying data is good. Clean sheet odds are good. Performances are there. So yeah, I really like the O'Reilly shout. Haaland will be over 200%. Yeah, he'll probably be about 210, 215, I think, by the time all the triple captains are played on him. I think, basically, that's what I'm expecting. Would I do Pedro to GYOKERS and bench Gabriel if chasing 7 points? I wouldn't do Pedro to GYOKERS in order to bench Gabriel. As good a differential as it might seem, I wouldn't do that. Gabriel and Saka or Lacroix and Saka. If you're going to buy Lacroix anyway, if you're going to buy Gabriel anyway, and you can get to him, then maybe go Lacroix first, but I would probably just go straight to Gabriel. Sorry, the reason I'm pausing is I don't know if this is the same on the mobile, but YouTube is like translating some of the messages in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, it is. It's the same on like the YouTube chat. Like someone just said, is it doing a... Oh, it is doing like a translation test. But it's not very good at it. Yeah, it is. If you're typing a message not in English, it's trying to translate it for me, I think. But it's not very good at it. Yeah, this one, I'm writing in Turkish right now. Is it translating? Test, test. It is. Uno, dos, tres. Yeah, it's translating it, but it doesn't translate. The reason I'm really confused is there's a message from FPL Predictions in the chat whose message is Tavernier to Sobersley, but he's shortened it to Sobo, and the translation is Tavernier this room, which is why I've been really confused. So it doesn't like players' names if they're not capitalized. It tries to translate them. But it is translating. That is crazy. But if you are going to write players' names, you kind of need to put them in with a capital letter because otherwise, I mean, I can highlight. So what I can do is if I put my mouse over them, it tells me what it was originally. I'm really sorry if you're here for FPL advice. We will get back to it in a minute, but that is pretty cool. How is it? Well, do you not think that the algorithm of translations should know that Sobo is short for Sobersley? Right, let's get back. But that is... I was wondering what was going on. Sobo is room in Hungarian. This is crazy. This is crazy. Wow. I think it might only translate it for me. People are saying it doesn't translate in the chat, except it doesn't translate them all. Right. Right, back to it. Right, back to it. What about Mateta? I wouldn't buy any Palace attackers. I don't think any of them are guaranteed to play enough minutes. Even when they do start, they're all being taken off early, so I wouldn't do that. It only translates for me for the looks of it. Great. What do I think about what I do with Strauch? If you've got lots of transfers, I probably would sell Strauch. Particularly, I like Michael Keane. If you can buy Michael Keane, I think he's a great defender to own for the final three. DEFCON numbers are good. Palace, Sunderland, Spurs last three. Spurs might have nothing to play for on the final day. Sunderland at home next week. Palace away this week. Again, with Europe having been on Thursday. 20 points behind in your mini league. Guy First has been doing my moves every week. So have used triple captain on Gabriel. So has used... Should I triple captain O'Reilly? Considering you... I would just triple captain Haaland because you're still gaining on top of him. Unless the gap is huge, in which case then go O'Reilly. Thiago to Welbeck for a hit. No, I wouldn't do it for a hit. 2 free transfers. Which would I leave to 37? Semenyo to Turkey, Strauch to Gabriel, or Palmer to Saka? Or do all three? I wouldn't do. I'd do the other two, and I would leave Semenyo in probably. If you don't have to do it for the money. Is Doku a good pick? Yes. Like all those City mids, it could be any of them that do well. So yeah, if you want to buy Doku, I've got no issue with that. You can pick Declan Rice. I don't think he's the best Arsenal pick, but he's the safest for minutes. But I don't see him as a particularly great pick for the run-in. I prefer an Arsenal defender or an Arsenal attacker. He feels like he doesn't do either at the moment, particularly. Thoughts on Lewis Skelly and Ben White? Yeah, so I have no issue with either of those. I think Lewis Skelly is probably slightly safer, although there's always a chance that Zubimendi plays a game like West Ham today, or if they only need a draw on the final day. Ben White, it doesn't look like Timber's going to come back. I've got no issue with it. There is, of course, a slight risk with both Mosquera and Zubimendi being a risk to both of them. Can I explain my João Pedro over GYOKERS thinking again? No, so it's not João Pedro over GYOKERS. The plan is to do Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS because I've got the money and I think João Pedro is better than Calvert-Lewin for the final 3 weeks. Yeah. 2 transfers made, 1 transfer left. Semenyo to Turkey or hold the transfer. If you don't need the money and it's your last transfer, I probably wouldn't do it in that situation. Why is Tavernier last on my bench? So I'm going to make a transfer. I suppose it should be Biol unless I decide to do the Palace defender move. So it should be like that. But I don't love Tavernier. Like his data, people are saying his data is good. Like it's fine because of that. But like outside of that, 0.17 against Palace, 0.17 against Leeds, 0.06 against Arsenal. Like 0.32 is not bad, 0.58 like better. Yeah, like it's fine. But also Fulham, people are saying in the chat, Fulham aren't scoring many goals, but they're also not they're not conceding loads of goals. They're not conceding loads of goals. Oh, would I do Tavernier? I really like Szoboszlai. He's up there in one of my midfielders to buy this week. Yeah. Szoboszlai. So Szoboszlai feels like he's got a great run of fixtures. It's Chelsea this week. Then Villa before the Europa final. And then Brentford at home on the final day. Yeah, I really like Szoboszlai. Start 2 of João Pedro, Calvert-Lewin or Hill. How much is Szoboszlai? Oh, I'm going to be 0.1 short. I'm going to be 0.1 short. No! Oh, that is really annoying. The dreaded 0.1 short. That is really annoying. That's how much I like Szoboszlai as a pick this week, if you're wondering. There should be a captaincy ranking. I hope it's not just been stuck on injury news for the past. No, there should be a... Oh, I haven't turned the captaincy ranking on. Thank you very much. There we go. Soboslai or GYOKERS? Probably GYOKERS. Like, I can find something else other than Soboslai, but like triple Arsenal from next week is the priority transfers. 1.1 short of Lacroix can afford if you do Cherki and for Semenyo. Yeah, I don't mind that. If you want Lacroix, Cherki and for Semenyo is a great way to free up some money. You've got bench boost to play, triple Arsenal defense, Haaland, Welbeck, Bowen. Would I rather have Verbruggen and GYOKERS or just Thiago? Verbruggen and GYOKERS I like. Yeah. I don't massively understand the question. Would I rather have Verbruggen and GYOKERS or just Thiago? Well, Verbruggen and GYOKERS. Bench one, Tavernier, Enzo. There's a Chelsea player involved in this question. I would bench Enzo. Enzo versus Tavernier is quite close, but I would bench Enzo over Tavernier. Yeah, I'm not a big Tavernier fan, to be honest. Would I keep Wilson or DCL? I'd probably rather keep Wilson. Start DCL or Truffer. Probably DCL. Saliba to Canvo and Bowen to GYOKERS. I don't mind it. I just think Bowen is quite a good pick for the final couple of weeks. So I don't think you need to be rushing to sell Bowen. Pick one of Bench Boost 36, Szoboszlai, Bruno G, or Gakpo. I'd pick Szoboszlai. Best for the final 3 weeks. Do I think Cherki is a bit of a risk with Foden there and having played well off the bench last week? So Foden is more of a risk to Semenyo. He's been coming on for Semenyo and playing in that right side space. He's been playing with Foden, not instead of Cherki. He's more of a risk to Semenyo than he is to Cherki. You're on bench boost, Aronson to Hinshelwood or Dewsbury Hall. I prefer Hinshelwood this week, but long term for the final 3, I probably prefer Dewsbury Hall. Triple captain O'Reilly. Yeah, like if you don't want a triple captain Haaland, O'Reilly is the next best option for me. Triple captain Cherki or O'Reilly. O'Reilly would be above Cherki for me. My issue with O'Reilly is I think Cherki, I just don't see him outscoring Haaland. Basically. I don't think Cherki is a good enough goal scorer that I think he outscores Haaland. In which case, if I want to back against Haaland and I want someone to outscore him, I would go O'Reilly, I think. Although I think O'Reilly versus Cherki is pretty close, I don't like the fact that I'm backing City to score goals and Cherki to have more involvement than Haaland. I don't like that. Whereas I would prefer O'Reilly, whose goal output is pretty good and he gets clean sheet points as well. Would I sell João Pedro to GYOKERS? Probably not. I'm quite happy to do it because I can sell Calvert-Lewin to do it. Yeah, I just don't know about... Welcome everyone who's joined, by the way. For those of you who are in early, welcome and thank you for sticking around. Those of you who are in recently, thank you for joining. If you could drop a like and a subscribe. I'm always drinking squash for anyone who's... Or juice. We worked out last week that squash is an English term. It's like cordial. What are my thoughts on Watkins? I think he's a fine hold this week for Burnley. I think he probably will start. But after that, he's a definite sell and I would not buy him new. Striker 8.1. Who to buy? Probably Welbeck. Watkins, Wilson or Bowen, bench 2. Well, bench Bowen and probably bench Wilson. I'd play Watkins. If you've got Watkins against Burnley, I wouldn't be benching him. Dubravka or Darlow? I mean, this week, probably Darlow regardless. I don't have my triple captain. I really wish I still had my triple captain. If anyone wants to lend me theirs and take my Gabriel triple captain and do a little swap, I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it. But yeah. Yeah, no triple captain for me. If you have it, then yes, I would play. -4 for GYOKERS, I wouldn't do that. Would I replace Pascal Struijk to ensure a 15-man bench boost? I probably would, and I would probably buy Michael Keane. Because Michael Keane is really useful in the other weeks we've got left this season, and Everton still have something to play for. So I think if I was selling Pascal Struijk, I probably would do Struijk to Keane. I think Struijk will probably play, but if you're on bench boost, I'm not sure it's worth it. If you're not on bench boost, then you probably just bench him. I put Van Heck above Senesi in the benching ranking, but what if you already have Verbruggen? Then it's quite close. Like, I understand if you don't want to have a double up on the Brighton defence and you want to go Senesi, Verbruggen, but in isolation, Van Heck is better than Senesi, and you shouldn't let that goalkeeper decision dictate it, but it does sometimes, right? So I have no issue if you want to play Senesi over Van Heck as well, because Senesi will probably get DEFCON, although Fulham is not the best team to play DEFCON against. So, but yeah, if you want to play Senesi over Van Heck, I've got no issue with it, really. Playing a 4-5-1, João Pedro for Struijk into... I play João Pedro over Struijk, yeah. Yeah. Bench one, Minter or Lewis Skelly. I probably would bench Lewis Skelly and play Minter home to Wolves. It's quite close, but I probably would back the attacker against Wolves. I haven't decided if I'm going to buy a Palace defender. I think I will sell Biol to Lacroix if I do it. I'm not going to sell Hill, because as much as Hill is not useful next week, 38, if Chaos arrives in 38, having Hill away at Forest is going to be absolutely fine, right? He'll probably get DEFCON. It's not the end of the world. Thoughts on doubling up on Semenyo and Cherki instead of one of them and O'Reilly? I don't hate that scenario, doubling up and not going O'Reilly. The issue is O'Reilly is just such a good pick. I really struggle to think that O'Reilly is not better than both Cherki and Semenyo, so I would almost rather do it the other way around and not go Cherki or Semenyo in order to get O'Reilly. Like, if you told me this week you could buy Cherki, you could buy Semenyo, or you could buy O'Reilly, I would probably say buy O'Reilly first. So I don't love going against him. But again, if you're chasing and your mini league rival has got, O'Reilly, Mark Gay and Haaland and got double defense, and you're going to go, no, I'm going to do something different, then I get it. But unless it's a specific scenario like that, I would probably go O'Reilly. Your 87th place in the overall ranking. Who is a good differential? Could you give the rest of us some advice? That would be great. No, but if I was looking at a differential, I do have... So, Hinchelwood, Welbeck. That's defenders. Welbeck, Szoboszlai, Richarlison, Porro, Hinchelwood. Top 5 differentials this week. Is Doku instead of Cherki worth it to catch up mini league rank? Also, worth the best differential striker to have other than Welbeck? GYOKERS or Richarlison then, if you need another one. And Doku instead of Cherki is an absolutely fine gamble to make. I wouldn't sell Cherki to Doku. That doesn't feel worth it. I plan on buying GYOKERS in place of Calvert-Lewin. And then I have to decide if I want to buy a Palace defender or not. Or do I just hope that they concede twice? And if they don't keep a clean sheet and Lacroix doesn't score, then I'll be happy that I didn't do it, really. Chances are that one of João Pedro, Hill, Tavernier will probably get something. Probably. It's just whether I can predict who it's going to be. Right. Why is Semenyo ahead of Cherki in the benching ranking when I prefer Cherki as a pick? Right. So I tried explaining this on Twitter last night, and half the people thought I was an idiot, and half the people thought I was thought what I was speaking was sense. And then I put it in my video, and again, it was a similar discussion. Basically, if I was to gamble against... If you're captaining someone like Semenyo or Cherki, you're gambling against Haaland, right? And if you're gambling against Haaland, you need to pick someone who you think can outscore Haaland. Is basically it. And I don't think Cherki can outscore Haaland. I don't see enough of Cherki's goal threat where I think Cherki can outscore Haaland. But I think Cherki is more consistent at getting a 5 to a 10 pointer every week. But Semenyo to me is more a 2-pointer or a 15-pointer. Like Semenyo has the brace appeal. He has the hat trick across a double game week. He has that in my mind more than Cherki does. Whereas over 10 weeks, I think Cherki will outscore Semenyo because Semenyo will blank more than Cherki will. As Cole is saying in the chat, Semenyo has the higher ceiling than Cherki, but Cherki has a higher floor and a much more consistent higher floor. And that's why I would captain Semenyo over Cherki. And some people don't agree, but that's basically where I'm at. Replace Krupi with GYOKERS for a -4. I probably wouldn't do that for a hit. If you've got triple Arsenal for next week without a hit, I wouldn't do it for a hit, no. Like, if you can just do it for free and you've already got triple Arsenal. If it's only your second Arsenal, then yes, because it's a hit regardless then. Aronson should start if Okafor's out, yep. I played my triple captain back in Game Week 26. I wish I didn't, and this is just a weekly and timely reminder that I shouldn't have done it. But yes, I did. So no triple captain for me. So keep Semenyo then. No, not necessarily. If you're not captaining Semenyo or Cherki, then you can still do Semenyo to Cherki. But if you're not captaining Haaland and you've got Semenyo and you're considering doing Semenyo to Cherki to captain Cherki, then I wouldn't do that. But if you're not captaining either, there is a good chance that Cherki outscores Semenyo. But there's also a chance that Semenyo outscores Haaland. Bench Saliba, Rice, Virgil van Dijk, or Dewsbury Hall. I probably would bench Van Dijk. Probably. Yeah, probably my free hit. I haven't thought that much about free hit. Apologies, because only about less than 1% of players have the free hit left. But yes, I probably would go with it very similar to what we had. Lewis Miley is out injured, though, and I know he was on the bench, so you'd have to change that. Will Gordon start? You have Gordon, Hill. I'd probably play Hill over Gordon. Sideways to Cherki from Semenyo or Pedro to Welbeck. Probably Cherki. I still think that João Pedro is a fine pick for the final few weeks. Raya or Verbruggen. If you've got Raya, you always play Raya. No matter who your other goalkeeper is, unless the other goalkeeper's got a double. If Foden's back, it's more a risk to Semenyo than it is to Cherki. Right, so someone in the chat, again, this translation thing, has written Pedro to GYOKERS, but it has translated it to me as Pedro, you are a fool. This has really brightened up my morning. If anyone couldn't tell, this is the highlight. This. Right, Rosso, 3 best midfielders and 3 best forwards, not Arsenal, City, or Chelsea. Szoboszlai. Not Arsenal. Szoboszlai, Hinshelwood, Dewsbury Hall, probably, and then you've got Welbeck, Bowen, maybe Richarlison. What do I think of Dorgu? I don't expect he starts. He was great before, but yeah, I wouldn't buy Dorgu. Too much of a risk at the moment. For a third City player, would I bring in Doku or O'Reilly? I'd buy O'Reilly. Unless you're chasing a mini league rival who's got O'Reilly and not Doku. But yeah. Does it make sense to bench boost this week? Hill, Darlow, Tavernier, and Biol. Would I bench boost this? If this was my team, would I bench boost or wait till next week? I think I'd bench boost this week because Bournemouth have got City next week, so it's no better. So I probably would just bench boost. Midfielders under 4.9. Right, so I don't know who's this. Sorry, best midfielder under 4.9. That's a good question. Let's look on. Let's take out. I mean, Stack is the obvious one. Someone else was asking for really cheap, like under 5 million midfielders this week. Yeah, you've got Lerma. I'm not sure it's worth it. I mean, you could punt on Lerma and hope he plays both in the double. Enzo Lafie. Yeah, Stack is the obvious one. You could buy Gallagher. Again, a bit of a punt. He's 5 million. Again, you've got Anthony there, who's got Villa at home and Wolves at home in the last 3. You've got Scott, who's good for DEFCON. You've got Ampadu, who's good for DEFCON. You've got Kobe Mainu. Like, there aren't very many great picks in here, really. Vifa's injured. Like, you're probably buying, if you've got a lower amount of money, you're probably buying Antoine Stack, I would say. Who to start, Van Dijk or Hill? Probably, to be honest, I probably would play Van Dijk. Thanks for the help this season. You've helped with your rank. No worries. Glad I could be of some assistance. Glad you enjoyed the content as well. Although you didn't actually say that. But I'm glad I could be helpful. Sorry, I'm looking at my benching ranking to try and work out whether I would put Van Heck or Hill in. Van Dijk or Hill in. Probably Van Dijk, but it's pretty close. Triple captain of the world. What was that? Triple captain O'Reilly or Haaland is being translated to triple captain of the world. I would triple captain Haaland unless you're chasing and then you go O'Reilly. Is a -4. Like, the other thing to mention is if you don't go O'Reilly, there are other options to chase. You don't have to go O'Reilly if you're chasing. You can still go like differential on like GYOKERS next week or something. Let me have a look. Bentner. Enzo to SAKA and Palmer to Fernandez. And co-YouTube with Raptor. We should do more content together than we do. Definitely. Yeah, Enzo to SAKA and Palmer to Fernandez. Yep, definitely. Is 14-point chase worth a triple captain O'Reilly over Haaland? No. Like, if they don't have the chip, triple captain Haaland can make you 14 points regardless, so no. Do we think GYOKERS can make up 15 points? I mean, I don't think he'll do it on his own. What's that, like 3 goals over the final 3 weeks with the other options blanking every week? Like, no, but he can hopefully make a dent in it. We've got an hour to go to the deadline. If you haven't subscribed already, we are going to put it into subscriber-only mode. So please subscribe if you have not already. And we will crack on. And also, we haven't quite hit 1,000 likes. So if you could drop a like on the stream. There are 4,000 of you who haven't liked. So if you could, that would be fantastic. Your first FPL season, and we've been brill. So thank you. No worries. I'm glad I could help anyone who's enjoyed. Rice instead of SAKA. No, like I wouldn't buy Rice with 3 weeks to go, really. I've just not been impressed by his attacking output, and Lewis Skelly being in the team is not good for him for his attacking output either. He just looks much deeper. whilst Lewis Skelly is playing. You just brought in Hinchelwood and Saka for Palmer and Enzo. Nice moves. Yep, nice moves. Would I sell Isak? Yes, I probably would, yeah. I mean, you could always wait. Like, there's a chance he starts today, and I haven't seen any team news on Liverpool this morning, but we might get it. So you could always wait until the deadline. But yeah, I probably would be looking to sell Isak. Like, Isak to GYOKERS feels pretty straightforward, I would say. Wildcard 35, bench boost 36. You've got one transfer, DCL or Thiago to Welbeck or Roll for 2 transfers. Flexibility in 37 into 38, e.g. Rice to Saka, rid of Palace. I probably would roll it. It sounds like you need the transfer more further forward. Thoughts on Canvo? He's my favourite option at Palace if you can't afford Lacroix or Munoz. Yep. 75-point chasing, what should you do? I mean, you should probably captain O'Reilly. You probably should really consider going elsewhere with some of your picks and going differential. The thing I would always say, though, is just because you go different doesn't mean it works out. Like, you could go different and you could get it horribly wrong and it could go even worse. So you do need to understand the risk element of it, because often we talk about, who are the differentials that you can buy to do something different or to chase rank? But that doesn't mean that they pay off, right? That doesn't mean that you gain on the person you're chasing. It just means you have more disparity in your teams. You could fall further behind. You could get a red arrow. And if you don't want that and you're happy with your rank, but you also want to chase, then you've got to decide what's more important to you, basically. And I'm sort of at that at the moment. A little bit. I have that sort of debate in my mind because I'm 18k, but after chips are played this week, if I lose 10 points, I'm about 25k, which is at a very good rank. Like, I'm happy with it, particularly where I was maybe 10 weeks ago. It was about 200k. So to push to where I am now, if I'm, about 25k, if I take into account everyone playing their chips, 25 points to make up, right? I can go different and I can buy differential players, like buy GYOKERS this week. But I also then run the risk of it getting worse. If I buy GYOKERS this week and Calvert-Lewin and João Pedro and like Lacroix, players I don't have, do well, then it's going to get worse, right? So I've got to understand, do I want to risk pushing to the top 10k, but also risk falling further behind? So it's about how much of those risks you think are worth it versus not, if that all makes sense. You're first in your mini league. Big thanks to your content. That is all good. I appreciate the comment. Congratulations. Playing DCL over Pedro, I think it's pretty close between them. I just have been pretty impressed by Spurs recently that I'm not sure I would. So likely moves, I've done Palmer to Saka. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS, and then it's, do I do a Palace defender in, or do I just play João Pedro or James Hill? The most memorable game week so far this season. That's a good question. I think the week that I got Elliot Anderson off my bench is probably the week. That's the week that stands out to me. I think I got a huge green arrow because I got Elliot Anderson off my bench. What was that? Game week? Yeah, game week 29. Tarkowski scored a 15-pointer. He scored at home to Burnley. Gabriel 11. I had Dewsbury Hall who got 9. And I had Elliot Anderson 12-pointer off my bench. It was when like Wilson and Joachim Anderson were both it was the week that Wilson and Anderson both missed out. You feel so sorry for me that I wasted my triple captain. If you want to transfer yours to me, I'm sure we can find a way. I would triple captain this week, bench boost next week if you've got both chips left. Why would I not do João Pedro to GYOKERS? Because I just think João Pedro is a fine hold for the final 3 games. I know Chelsea have been awful, but as Chelsea attackers go, João Pedro is on 15 goals, 9 assists over the season. He is our best attacker, and we've got Spurs and Sunderland and Liverpool last 3. Like, I think he's a very reasonable hold for the final few weeks. Yeah. Do I feel comfortable with triple Brighton? No, I was actually... So I'm going to have, if I buy GYOKERS, triple Brighton, triple City, triple Arsenal, Bruno, and one more. That does not make me feel comfortable that 9 of my players play across a total of 3 games. It doesn't sound great. Doesn't feel great. Feel like that never really works out. If I bring in a Palace defender, I'll bench João Pedro. So the question is Lacroix worth a transfer over João Pedro this week? And I'm starting to think that it's not. And I've just got to hope that Palace don't keep a clean sheet and Lacroix doesn't score. Basically. So this is interesting. You don't have enough money in the bank for Beto to GYOKERS. Would I sell Senesi to a 3.9 defender? Good idea for a forward. So if you're buying a 3.9 defender, you are going to think I am crazy. But you should buy, the only defender at that price that's worth buying is a Burnley defender to play them at home to Wolves in game week 38 if you need them to. Buy Ekdal, he's 3.8, and play him at home to Wolves on the final day. There is no other cheap defender who is particularly useful in any of the final games apart from Burnley at home to Wolves. Now, I think there might be a Wolves one, but he's not fully nailed. Buy Ekdal, he's good for DEFCON. Maybe you get to game week 38 and suddenly the league is over and heaven, you've got Maguire, you've got Martinez back. He's also away at Brighton on the final day. It does get DEFCON sometimes, but with Martinez back, isn't nailed. Swerving Palace. What do I think of Michael Keane? Michael Keane is probably the best defender to buy this week that doesn't play for City, Arsenal, Palace. Really like Michael Keane. Again, final day away at Spurs. They might have nothing to play for. Game week 37, they've got Sunderland at home. Really like that. And this week they go away to a Palace team who, again, like if they play like they did against Bournemouth last weekend, you'll be happy you've got Michael Keane. So yeah, really like the Michael Keane pick. Wolves Burnley could be a goal fest. That is also possible. But if you're looking for a cheap defender, it's probably all there is. If only one Arsenal spot left, would I go GYOKERS or SAKA? I'd go SAKA over GYOKERS. I would go whoever you're most comfortable captaining next week. Because again, if you're chasing, the most owned player next week will be Haaland and Bruno. So Haaland goes away to Bournemouth and Bruno has Forest at home, who are not in Europe anymore. So if you want to go different next week, it will be an Arsenal captain and SAKA will probably be the most popular one. So the question is can you get to GYOKERS and do you want that? So all of these things need to be taken into consideration with your transfers now. I prefer SAKA to GYOKERS because I also don't love the other midfielders as much. Yeah, we have got 50 minutes to go to the stream. Thank you all very much for joining. Happy Saturday to you all, the final Saturday stream of the season. Is captaining Semenyo a disaster if you really have to chase? No. To be honest, no. Like, O'Reilly and Haaland are still better than him. Yep. But any City player could do well in the double. Could Munoz be a better differential or a better punt than Lacroix? Definitely. He's got the attacking returns more than Lacroix does, but Lacroix just has the DEFCON higher floor than Munoz. Who to sell for bench boost 36? Thiago, DCL, Struijk to Welbeck, Van Heck or Keane? It probably has to be Struijk in that example. Just because he is a doubt. Probably. Cool. I need to decide. Salah for 38, one last hurrah, potentially. But I wouldn't be surprised if Salah's fitness is not... Like, I don't think Salah is going to be back. And I think he'll be on the bench in 38. Or he'll start and play like... whatever his shirt number worth of minutes is or something like that. Thoughts on João Pedro to GYOKERS? I'm not sure I'd do João Pedro to GYOKERS unless your other forward you're just never going to sell and your only forward you could sell to GYOKERS is João Pedro, in which case then yes, but I would rather sell your other forward or wait and sell your other forward next week. Yeah. So I do think I'm going to do Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS. I mean, he's been all right. Like, he's not been fantastic, but his minutes, he's such a minutes risk. But he has been better recently. I'm pretty sure I am going to do it. And I don't particularly think it's the most sensible move, but I've got 3 weeks left, right? And I can't roll my transfers forever. It's just if I do anything else. Do I buy a Palace defender? I almost want to confirm this transfer just so that I can visualize it in my team. Oh, I can't buy Welbeck, can I? Fine. I was trying to do DCL to Welbeck, Tavernier to Szoboszlai, but then I'd have to sell like Van Heck to Lacroix, which just really is a weird use of 3 transfers. I think Calafiori will probably start, but it could. This is the biggest risk week for both Calafiori and Ben White. I'm pretty certain that Calafiori and Ben White will start at home to Burnley for their attacking threat. This week, it could be Mosquera and Hincapié for the defensive abilities against West Ham. Oh, Vidat, thank you very much for gifting a membership. Galvs, congratulations on winning that membership. I'm going to buy GYOKERS, I think. Gabriel, Saka, GYOKERS for Burnley at home. It's whether I do another transfer or not after that. I'd play Wilson over DCL if you're chasing rank, and would I captain Haaland or O'Reilly? It depends how much you're chasing. If you're Hail Marying and you're going massive and you've got to chase down 70 points, then yeah, I'd captain O'Reilly. But I still think Haaland is the best captain this week. But yeah, O'Reilly is worth considering if you're chasing. The reason I don't want to give a definitive, yes, if I was chasing, I would captain O'Reilly, is because I know that if I was still chasing, and I would also care about not wanting to fall further behind. Whereas some people will be like, yeah, that mini league, that is all I'm chasing for. If I don't get it, I don't care what happens. Whereas I would care. So in that situation, I don't want to definitely say, yeah, if I was chasing, I'd definitely captain O'Reilly, because I'm not sure I definitely would. Although I think Ross is captaining O'Reilly, which I do like. You're chasing by 15 points. Would I start Hill over Gabriel? I don't hate that. I'm not sure I would, though, because Gabriel's goal threat is too high. I probably would just play Senesi and Gabriel. You can't buy GYOKERS because you're 0.3 million short, Callum. You have Tavernier and Hill with 5 to 5.1 mid is okay to buy at this point, or just buy Ekdal. I would buy Dewsbury Hall. Hopefully you can afford him. Hopefully you can afford him. He's 5.2, so maybe you can't. Hinchelwood, 5.1 then, probably. One free transfer, Rice to Saka or Xavi to who for 9.4. This week, I'd probably get rid of Xavi first. But I probably would just do Xavi to someone else to allow it to Szoboszlai, or someone that allows you to do Rice to Saka next week as well. Oh, you have Hinchelwood. There isn't really, like, you're looking at buying Antoine Stack, like, or yeah, maybe then you sell Hill to get the money, probably, Callum. Would I go GYOKERS from Welbeck or Pedro? I wouldn't sell Welbeck or Pedro to GYOKERS this week. Like, you can wait next week, and if you want to sell one of them, or I would rather sell João Pedro than Welbeck. But there is a chance that next week you sell Welbeck after Wolves. What would be your bench boost draft? My bench boost draft. If I was on bench boost this week, what transfers would I make? I would sell Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS, and I'd sell Biol to Lacroix. Probably, I'd probably do both of those. Would I keep Cunha or bring in Saka? If you could do Cunha to Saka, I probably would do that if you've got the money. Calvert-Lewin to Welbeck or play Tav. I would do Calvert-Lewin to Welbeck. I quite like that. Would I start Michael Keane or João Pedro? Probably João Pedro. Isn't it better to get at least one Crystal Palace defender just for the potential upside of things going their way against Everton? Yep, potentially. Like, there is upside of the Palace defenders. Yep. I just am not certain that that transfer is most valuable then. That's what I'm trying to decide in my mind. Is the Palace transfer the most valuable transfer I can make? If João Pedro had a better fixture, or he was at home, for example, then I don't think I would be doing it. That is basically, do I think João Pedro or Hill can get close to it? Yes. But Fulham haven't been that free-flowing. Liverpool have been conceding chances, though. You can see the cogs turning in my mind. Luke, who's better to keep, Bowen or Thiago, and why? I probably would keep Bowen. He's got more to play for. Thiago's fixtures are not great. City away, Palace. My understanding of Palace is that they will use that last game against Brentford as their last opportunity to put out a full strength team before the final, because they're not going to do it against Arsenal on the final day, I don't think, because it's only a few days before the final. So I don't think it will happen then, in which case it's probably the last opportunity that they've got to play and, you know, test themselves. So I think I would sell Thiago before Bowen. Morning, Harry. Pedro predicted off the left by many is a dent to his potential weak view. I mean, he scored off the left against Forest. He was fine in that game when he played there, so I don't think it's a huge dent. I think Delap playing is a bit of a dent to Chelsea as a whole, and yes, like, João Pedro's positioning is a little bit worse, but in that situation, he's not being marked by like Van Dijk and Konate, so there's a world where it suits him better. I don't think it's a huge impacting factor, to be honest. No. And in a way, it's probably better for his minutes, because they'll probably take Delap off and he'll probably go to 9 for the last bit. Although I don't know what wingers we're actually going to have available today, if we're going to have any, apart from Palmer, who's not naturally a winger. What do I think about playing Isak? I probably would sell Isak. I don't think he's guaranteed to start. Just with such an injury record, I'm not sure I'd be taking the risk on Isak. He is... Because Arnie Slot said, Alexander Isak is back in training with us, and we will see how much we can use him this weekend. That doesn't seem like he's going to start to me. So... who starts? Hincapié, Bruno G, or Calvert-Lewin? Probably Bruno G. Not Hincapié. Should I bring in Saka and Cherky for Palmer and Semenyo using 2 of my 3 free transfers? You have 2.2 in the bank. I mean, again, so in that scenario, you're doing Semenyo to Cherky purely because you think Cherky's better. You're not needing the money on that this week, unless it helps you buy GYOKERS or something next week. In which case, I'm not sure it's that worth it, unless you're definitely convinced that Cherky is a better pick. If you're not sure, then I would just hold off. Start DCL or Tav. I'd play DCL over Tav. Start Senesi or DCL. Probably DCL over Senesi. It's close though. If I had 2 free transfers, would I do DCL and Semenyo to GYOKERS and Cherky? Yeah, if the downgrade allows you to afford the other one, yes. -4 for GYOKERS, probably not, no. Almost certainly not. Would I take a minus to bring in a Palace defender? Definitely not. Definitely not. No minuses for a Palace defender. Triple captain alternatives are O'Reilly, Cherky, Semenyo, Doku, or waiting and playing on an Arsenal player at home to Burnley in Game Week 37. Would I sell Rodgers to Szoboszlai? Duncan has asked. No, I would keep Rodgers for this week. I would keep Rodgers. Bench boost this week or 37. If your bench looks good this week, just play it. The only time to bench boost 37 is if you think your bench looks significantly better in 37 than it does this week. Basically, if it looks pretty similar, I would just play it. Just done DCL to GYOKERS, locked in. I think that's happening here as well. What's happened in the last man standing? I got through last week, so I need to pick. We'll do the picks at the end of the stream. Do I think Rodgers starts this week? Yeah, I think he does. Don't see any reason. And they need to win. They can't afford to lose all 3 of their last games. So I think they will put out a full-strength team to win this. Strout to Canvo means you needs to bench João Pedro or Rodgers. So you'd be benching João Pedro. Is Strout to Canvo worth it to bench João Pedro? Probably not, because I think Canvo comes with enough risk of him not starting. You're chasing, but behind 14 points. Which option is better? Semenyo to Cherky, Tavernier to Szoboszlai, Senesi to Saliba, Tavernier to Casemiro, DCL to GYOKERS. So, if your rival has Semenyo, then Semenyo to Cherky. If not, probably Tavernier to Szoboszlai or DCL to GYOKERS. DCL to GYOKERS, as long as that's in your favoured triple Arsenal for next week. Start DCL or Tavernier. Probably DCL. If you have the 3.9, is Esteve better than Ekdal? Not much in it, really. I probably would just take Ekdal and leave that 0.1. You're probably not going to play them. Chasing triple captain, O'Reilly or Haaland. If you're chasing, then probably O'Reilly. But triple captain is a good differential in itself. So maybe you can just triple captain Haaland. Depends how much you're chasing and how much you want to risk falling behind, basically. Right, I am just going to buy GYOKERS, I think. And I want to get him in my team so then I can visualize it better. As a visual learner, it is much better to have the team in front of me as it would look. Or I can do that on Plan FPL, to be fair. Although, hang on. One second. There we go. Just like the visual of the team. There we go. So, Palmer to Saka. DCL to GYOKERS. Question it. Oh, I'm hiding my screen still. Question is, does that team need a Palace defender? Harry, Rice Semenyo to Cherki Saka for a -8. Playing in the cup, got to buy this round. Can't get Saka without selling Semenyo. You're playing for the cup only, in which case the -8 is fine. Apart from that, I would not do the -8. So the question is, does that team need another transfer of Biol to Lacroix? It doesn't really feel like it does it? I mean, I could play Hill. The record of players getting DEFCON against Fulham is not actually that great. I saw Tom Hadley talking about it, that defenders against Fulham actually are not always getting DEFCON. Let me take a look at their most recent games. So who's a good DEFCON defender? Did the Brentford centre-backs get it? Vandenberg only got 6. Collins got 6 as well. Interesting. Arsenal, I think Gabriel was really close, wasn't he, against Fulham? He got 8. Villa, they won't have got it. Liverpool, did Van Dijk get it? He got 13, so yes. Did the Forest centre-backs get it? Murillo got 4. And Milenkovic got 4. What happened to those Forest centre-backs? We all picked double Forest defenders in game week. Literally. Game week 1, we all were... The debate in game week 1 was how many Forest centre-backs do we want to own? Crazy. Not many defenders have hit DEFCON against them, but Hill is very good at it. Van Dijk or Hill, I'd play Van Dijk. Kelleher or Dubravka, I'd probably play... I'd probably play Kelleher and just hope he has a monster day. Sponge, how are we doing? I hope you're doing well. 3 free transfers and defending rank. A, DCL to GYOKERS. B, Rodgers to Saka. C, Tavernier and DCL to Saka and Krupi. I do the Saka and probably do the C move because Saka is going to be much more highly owned if you're protecting rank. So I'd probably find a way. To be honest, what I would consider doing, Sponge, is not doing all those moves and doing Rodgers to Saka next week. I think saving the extra transfer and doing that is probably the best way to save rank. Or yeah, I would do either route for Saka. -4 for DCL to GYOKERS. No, I don't think I would do that. -4 DCL to GYOKERS. Already got Saka. No, I would not sell DCL to GYOKERS. Harry supports Chelsea. Just sell Pedro to GYOKERS if you can't afford him elsewhere. Pedro is not a must-have. No, but I would say GYOKERS isn't a must-have either. I don't think GYOKERS is a must-have, particularly this week. And if your only route to GYOKERS, and you definitely want GYOKERS, is João Pedro, then yes, sell João Pedro to GYOKERS. But you could not buy GYOKERS this week, and then next week do your other forward like Calvert-Lewin or Welbeck to GYOKERS and save that transfer and do it with 2 transfers next week. Got Rodgers, but tempted by Szoboszlai, Pens and Chelsea poor. I think I wouldn't do that this week. If you have Rodgers, I would just keep him for this week. I think I would just keep him for this week. Does Richard start both? It's pretty 50-50. I would say yes because he got a rest a while ago, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think if you've got Richards, you can play him, but I would definitely not buy him. I definitely would not buy Richards. No. I'd buy Michael Keane over Richards. GYOKERS or Rice? GYOKERS. 3 free transfers and chasing rank. SAKA, DCL, and Semenyo to SAKA, GYOKERS. SAKA, GYOKERS, and Doku. GYOKERS and Doku are good differentials. Yep. Yep. Doku's very low owned. Who would I sell? Saliba. Would I sell Saliba for Ben White to create extra funds? You can see Ben White linking up well with Saka. Yeah, I don't mind that. It's just this week is the week that I think there's most risk of Mosquera starting because of West Ham's physicality, which I think Mosquera is better at combating than Ben White. But I think Ben White probably will play. Arteta will stop changing a winning team, I think. Is Szoboszlai much better than Bruno G this week? No. But if I was buying one player for the final 3 weeks, I'd buy Szoboszlai over Bruno G. And I've been pretty negative on Szoboszlai all season, but I think there's a lot of factors leading to him to be pretty good and the upcoming fixtures. Yeah, the wildcard lineup, pretty much the same as in the complete guide video yesterday afternoon. Yep. Yeah. Have I predicted my rank deficit based on on how many the chips? Yeah, so I'm a 15 points outside the top 10k. But I'll probably be about 25 after chips this week. So it's looking unlikely now. The streak is looking like it will come to an end. But you never say never. If Hinchelwood scores a hat-trick, we might be thinking differently. Or GYOKERS scores a hat-trick. Is it crazy to wait for bench boost 37 or 38? You have an okay bench, but you have Okafor and just one. Okafor is going to be out for 37, and I wouldn't bench boost 38, so I would sell Okafor and bench boost this week. Okafor was ruled out for the next 2, is what they said. Do I think Saka will start against Burnley? Yes, I do. I mean, I'm a biased Chelsea fan, right? But I don't think... I don't think Madueke is near the level of... I don't think he's near the level of Saka. I don't think that's that outlandish a statement. Yeah, the deadline is 11, not 11:30. Yeah, so it's in 24 minutes. You could put in Henderson and have Welbeck. I'm not going to buy Dean Henderson, I don't think. The benefit to the Palace defence over Henderson is they just get DEFCON, so their floor is higher. Chasing rank, Captain Haaland or O'Reilly. Would I bench Wilson for DCL? I'd play Wilson over DCL. Semenyo to Turkey with 1 free. Probably not. No, probably not. Same team, but with Strauch for Biol and Gross for Hinchelwood. 3 free transfers, not 4. Do we agree 2 of 5 total transfers are best spent on PALMER to SAKA, defender to Saliba? Yes, unless you want to go GYOKERS, basically. Only way to SAKA is to sell João Pedro. Would I do that? Yeah, I mean, if you can do João Pedro to Welbeck and SAKA in, then yeah, fine. Is Wharton a crazy pick? Yes. His minutes are all over the place. I would not be surprised. Basically, you've got, if you include Thursday night, you've got Thursday, then you've got the double, and then you've got Brentford. And I think the full team played on Thursday and the full team will play Brentford, in which case... Unless they're going to play all 4 in the space of 11 days, I don't see the rotation-prone players playing both in the double, is basically where I'm at. And if they're going to rotate, I mean, it could be against City. Could also be against Everton. Could be a bit of both. Everton are just looking... Yeah. Yeah, so Calvert-Lewin sorry, I lost my train of thought. Canvo and GYOKERS. So yeah, basically I expect Palace to rotate. Sorry, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Can't afford GYOKERS. Who's the next best striker? Welbeck, probably. Welbeck. PALMER to SAKA. Yeah, it's a transfer I did yesterday. If you buy Lacroix, who will I bench? João Pedro. João Pedro. Any news on Gibbs White? Yeah, I'd be selling Gibbs White if I've got him. I'd be selling Gibbs White if I had him. Right, would I do Semenyo to Turkey if you had 2 frees? Semenyo to Turkey if you had 2 frees. Again, like, it is a sideways move. I don't have an issue with it, but if you're not going to spend the money, then it doesn't feel an essential transfer. If City lose one of their games this week, does Saka even get many minutes versus Burnley and Palace? So if City don't win one of their games this week, it means that Arsenal will then win the league by beating Burnley at home. So I think Saka would start Burnley, but then he might not start Palace. But like, that's just a case of City winning of Arsenal winning the title. But that's the same case if you buy any Arsenal or City players. If the title race is over by 38, are they going to start? Like, that is just the risk. And that's part of the reason why the Lacroix transfer might be better saved. Like, even if João Pedro blanks, if Lacroix gets a 5-pointer, I mean, in that situation, it probably was worth it. +3, probably would take that. Yeah. Why wouldn't I bench Van Heck over João Pedro if you buy Lacroix? You have Pedro over Van Heck in... Yeah, so suppose I'd play a back 3 and I'd bench Van Heck and I'd play João Pedro. I've just assumed that Van Heck is always going to stay in my team. Okafor out. Your bench boost this week, it would be for a -4 as you already did. Well, if... yeah, I'd go Szoboszlai over Sarr. Yeah, I mean, you have to sell. If you've got him and you are bench boosting, you have to sell Okafor even for a hit. Yeah. Okafor to Cunha. I wouldn't buy Cunha. I'd buy Szoboszlai and bench DCL or I mean, Szoboszlai, I'd buy... I mean, Cunha's not bad, but I still think I'd go elsewhere now. I think I'd go Szoboszlai, Bruno G, and Dye or Dewsbury Hall. And bench DCL or bench him for Hill Senesi, already did PALMER to SAKA. I probably would sell Okafor if you like one of the replacements enough. Can I do Verbruggen and DCL to Raya and Welbeck? I could. Yeah, I could. But I don't really want to buy Raya. Is basically where I'm at. We're 3 weeks before the end of the season. Raya's going to score somewhere between 12 and 18 points. Like, it's fine, but I just don't see Raya as a transfer I want to make. I would rather buy an Arsenal defender. Like, I'd punt on a Ben White or I'd punt on something else, but I don't see myself buying David Raya. Is a -4 advisable of Dango to Hinchelwood? If you're having to start Dango this week, then yes, but if he's on your bench, then probably not. Fiona, good morning. Should I sell Senesi or Pascal Struijk for Lacroix? If I keep Senesi, you have a crazy expensive back line. Do you also have Hill, Fiona? In which case, then sell Senesi. I probably would sell Senesi anyway. It sounds like you've got a lot of money invested there. No, you don't. But I would probably just sell Senesi. PL, let me read the other half. You already did Palmer to Saka and Tav to Szoboszlai. 2 free transfers left. Semenyo to Cherki, Verbruggen to Raya, 37. Yeah, I don't mind Semenyo to Cherki if it gives you money for a 37 transfer that you like. Yep. Sell Strauch on bench boost. If you're on bench boost, I probably would look to sell Pascal Strauch. Yeah, Michael Keane would probably be my top replacement, I think. Chelsea goal odds. Those are the Rob T ones. Did they drop? Chelsea's didn't, but Liverpool. Is that Liverpool's dropping? Presumably. Like, yeah. Liverpool's dropped, not Chelsea's. Thiago or Tavernier? Probably Tavernier this week. Chasing rank, captain Haaland or O'Reilly. I mean, captain the player you think will score the most points, but probably captain. I mean, if you're chasing, yeah, fine, O'Reilly, but you've got to understand the risk that that it goes badly. Joe, what is the link to your here? So this is FPL Joe is in the chat, and he has a fantastic website which basically shows you how the market and the projections are moving for a game over time. And so if I go for the last day, for example, there has been a drop off in there has been a drop-off in what people think from Chelsea. I don't know if it's got goals as well. Oh, clean sheet, estimated goals. Here we go. So, I mean, it's dropped off for both teams, interestingly, but Chelsea have dropped off from about 1.36 down to 1.25. They're not favouring Chelsea very much over the past day or so. The website is called fpljoe.com. It's just predicting less goals in the game in general, pretty much across the board. But yeah, I love this. I love the data. I love the visuals on it. So, Joe, if you're still in the chat, I'm a big fan. Is Rodgers nailed? I think he'll play against Burnley. Right, we've got 14 minutes to go to the deadline. Let's lock in the Victor Gyökeres transfer. Calvert-Lewin out, Gyökeres in. The website is I don't know, the fpljoe.com. Sorry, right. Let's lock in Calvert-Lewin to Gyökeres. You can also get it on FPL Joe, who's on Twitter and YouTube as well. Calvert-Lewin to Gyökeres. Raya or Verbruggen? Raya. Welbeck and Gyökeres in for Thiago and Watkins for a hit. No, like I wouldn't do Watkins to Gyökeres for a hit. So just Thiago to Welbeck for free. Why not João Pedro instead of DCL out? I prefer João Pedro for the final 2 games for the final 3 games than I do DCL. Calvert-Lewin to GYOKERS. Confirm. I've owned GYOKERS once this season, and it went horribly wrong. It went horribly wrong. We all thought GYOKERS would take pens, and then SAKA started taking them, and vice versa. But so the question is now, with this team, is there a need for a transfer on Lacroix for Biol? DCL's next 2 are good. I mean, Spurs are fighting for so much and they look much better. And then they play Brighton chasing Europe when Leeds don't have much to play for. I would say this team just doesn't need Lacroix. Just think that transfer might be more useful elsewhere. I can't afford Munoz now. I don't have the money for Munoz. I think I'd still go Lacroix because his DEFCON and his set piece threat is good. But I can't afford it. I've only got... I don't have the money to go to... I've got 1.5 now. So Hill, I can't afford Munoz. It would have to be Lacroix for me. Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask why you're keeping Pedro? Because I just prefer him to Calvert-Lewin over the final 3, basically. I'm quite happy to gamble against Calvert-Lewin. I think the Leeds fixtures are harder than people think, and I think the Chelsea fixtures are easier than people think. Can I answer why you didn't triple captain? Because I've already used my triple captain in game week 26. I used it on Gabriel for the double game week. Yeah, people in the chat saying, why have Chelsea's odds dropped so much? What is that? Since 10 a.m. this morning? That is a bit weird. I mean, I'll put Hill first sub. I mean, who... I mean... But often, like, we have seen big drops in market odds when, like, before Haaland and Foden were benched earlier on in the season, it happened again. But I mean, I've got Hill first sub, and I think Hill's perfectly fine. I did actually tweet earlier on in the week that is it possible that Hill outscores Lacroix anyway. So I think Hill versus João Pedro is pretty close. I'm playing João Pedro over Tavernier, and I'm playing João Pedro over Biol. I don't think I'm going to buy Lacroix. It's João Pedro versus Hill. MR, let me have a look at your super chat. Rise to Hinchelwood this week, so GYOKERS next week, or both next week. I do Rise to Hinchelwood this week. The benefit to waiting is if it's your only transfer, if it's your only transfer, is it better to have the flexibility of not doing it? In case someone got injured, you'd just be better off waiting. On bench boost, 2 free transfers, Darlow to Verbruggen. If you're having, I don't know who your other goalkeeper is, but I'd probably prefer to sell them. But yeah. Yeah, so I don't mind Darlow to Verbruggen. I'd rather buy Jordan Pickford, though. Richards or DCL. If you've got Richards, I'd play him. Is Semenyo to Turkey worth it? Do you have 1 free transfer? No. Unless you're using the money definitely next week, then probably I'd just wait. Any news on Pascal Stroud? Nothing. He was a doubt, but when Leeds players are doubt, they do tend to turn up. Like we saw that with Biol and Okafor last week. Hill is a locked-in 4-pointer. Yeah, I mean, Fulham could score twice, but it's unlikely, right? In which case, do I back João Pedro to score more than 4? I think I would take the gamble on João Pedro to outscore 4. There is, of course, the chance that Hill does keep a clean sheet, right? But yeah, Hill versus João Pedro. Should you triple captain this week if you still have it? Yes. If you've still got chips... Sorry, I haven't spoken too much about this, but yes, if you've got triple captain, play it. If you've got bench boost and it looks good this week, play it. I would prefer the triple captain this week, bench boost next week, than the other way around. If you are playing a chip, please go and check right now that your chip is active. Please do not be one of the people after the deadline who tweets on Twitter or wherever you use your social medias and saying, I forgot to activate my chip. What can I do about it? Unfortunately, there is nothing you can do about it. So please go and make sure that your chip says that it's active right now. We have 5 minutes to go until the deadline. Please go and check your chips. Should I do Thiago to GYOKERS for a hit? No, I wouldn't. Maguire or Bowen or Dango, I would probably play Maguire. 4 free transfers, Maguire or Bowen. I wouldn't play Dango. Can I answer Adrian's question? Of course. You've done DCL to GYOKERS. Should I do Strout to Keane from -4 to maximize the bench boost? Tell him that if having Keane in 37 and 38 makes his team look better, then yes. But if it doesn't, then I would just hope that Strout plays. 4 free transfers, Saka, Cherki, Semenyo, Lacroix, GYOKERS, or save 1. Again, like if it's your last transfer, I'm not sure Lacroix is probably worth it. Cherki captain, probably not for me. Like I do think that O'Reilly and Haaland are better. Isaiah, between Lacroix or Canvo, reason to not go Lacroix means you need 2 transfers to go GYOKERS. So the thing is, if you're going to have to buy a defender anyway, then just go Lacroix. But if you're happy with your defense next week and you could not use that transfer, then just go Canvo. But if you've got a bad defense, then just go Lacroix because you'll have to make a transfer anyway there. Semenyo to Doku for a hit, no. Yeah, so Saka and GYOKERS, 2 transfers. I'm not going to buy Lacroix. I'm just going to hope that Palace concede twice. And you hope the transfer is more beneficial elsewhere, I think. Haaland is definitely the safest captaincy. If you captain him, you'll probably still lose rank if he does well, but not that much. He'll be like 215% probably. Thoughts on DCL to Welbeck for a hit? I know it'll be negative expected points, but how bad do you think this move is? I don't think it's the worst because I like Welbeck this week, but I probably wouldn't do it for a hit. Would I bench boost this? Strout to Van Heck, second Brighton defense, Canvo or Keane? I probably would go Keane because he might be the worst this week, but I think he's the best long term. Lacroix or GYOKERS in ahead of your mini league by 12. Probably GYOKERS and just save the transfer probably. Protecting, pick one, DCL to GYOKERS or Strout to Lacroix. Again, what do you think your rival is going to do? If your rival is going to buy Palace, then buy Palace. If not, then buy GYOKERS and save the other transfer. Should I trade Thiago to GYOKERS? Yeah, if you can sell Thiago to GYOKERS, that's fine. DCL or Hill, I would play probably DCL over Hill, but that's quite close if you want to just take the 4 points from... if you want to take the 4 points. We have 2 minutes to go to the deadline. Check your teams, check your captains. Can't afford GYOKERS, who to buy, then just wait and just play the players that you've got. Or buy Welbeck, Virgil van Dijk or Thiago. That's a good question. I probably would play Van Dijk because we can't defend set pieces particularly well. Strout to Lacroix or Enzo to Saka. I do Enzo to Saka. I'm not. It's actually a Barcelona shirt. We have some more shirts joining the collection soon. Bowen or Richarlison. This week, Richarlison. Probably Richarlison. Next week, I'd say Bowen. So you need to get the points from Richarlison this week. But yeah, probably Richarlison. He's cheaper as well. Wilson or Bruno G? Probably Bruno G. I'm not being that impressed by Wilson. Wilson, DCL or Senesi, probably DCL. Hill or DCL, probably DCL. Start Hill or Bowen, probably Hill over Bowen. Yeah, World Cup shirts. Top 200k triple captain ain't Nori. If you're chasing a lot and you want to get top 100k, then probably. Long-term replacement for Senesi is probably Michael Keane. Bowen or Charleston we did. Keep Watkins or get GYOKERS this week. I'd keep Watkins and get GYOKERS next week. DCL or João Pedro. I'd probably play João Pedro over DCL, but it is pretty close. Fulham, Anderson in defence or João Pedro. I'd probably play João Pedro. Tavernier or DCL. DCL over Tavernier. Wilson or Anderson. Wilson. Start Ampadu or Bowen. Ampadu. Thoughts on Ndai, fine, but I don't think he's any better than Dewsbury Hall apart from Penn, so I probably would just go Dewsbury Hall. Enzo or Hill, I'd play Hill. Right, we are now officially into the final minutes before the deadline. That is all for the questions. Thank you all very much. If you are heading off, please like and subscribe before you go, but we're going to stick around after the deadline and talk about some few things. Please go and check your teams. Make sure your chips are active. Make sure your team is where it needs to be. Make sure your captain is on who it needs to be and your vice captain as well. Make sure your vice captain is on someone with a double just in case. Captain Haaland, Vice Captain O'Reilly, Triple City, Triple Brighton, Saka and GYOKERS in for me. Go and check your teams. Final minutes before the deadline. That is my team. Game week 36 team. Saka plus DCL. Not Saka and DCL out. Palmer and DCL to Saka and GYOKERS. Haaland captain. Decided no Crystal Palace. I've already used my triple captain. Decided no Crystal Palace. That is it. That is it. Deadline has passed. We're going to do Fancy Challenge. We're going to do Last Fan Standing. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got it all covered. I also need to check my club team as well. Right. That is that. How are you all? Oh, I wrote Haaland and captain. Oh, well. Oh, well. What would I have done with Gordon? Probably benched him or sold him. Probably benched him or sold him. Let me turn down. You should play a siren and have a flash. Maybe I'll bring up something, although maybe I'll add something for next season. Let me lower the slow mode down. There we go. Strout to Van Heck instead of Chaga to Welbeck. A mistake. Nope. It's the safer route. So, nope. Nope. Right. That is where we're at. What should we do first? Let me check my club team. Also, by the way, I know I talk a lot about club, but if you have not started playing it, there is a link in the description. Right. Hang on a minute. Look who I just got as my club player. If that's not a sign, then I don't know what is. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. Oh dear. Sometimes you can't make it up. So Club is a free-to-play fantasy manager game where basically every few hours you get to open a pack just like that, and you get given a random player, and if you like the player you can take them and add them to your lineup, and you build your lineup over the course of the season. Gibbs White is injured, so I need to take him out, and I'm going to play 5-4-1, and James Hill is coming into the lineup. So Gibbs White can be released, but you do have like a budget basically. A sign of what? That is a good question. I need a defender on the bench. There we go. So my club lineup for the weekend is this. So we've got Verbruggen in goal. I've got Hill. I've got Lacroix, Porro, O'Reilly, Mark Gay. I've got Bruno Guimaraes, Bruno Fernandes, Rice, Elliot Anderson, and Ollie Watkins up front. So that is my club team. They are doing, you will have seen on the app, that there is some World Cup stuff. So if you haven't started playing now, it's a good idea to have a little look at it over the next couple of weeks, because when the World Cup rolls around, it's going to be very, very interesting and fun to see what comes. But yeah, definitely get on it. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. Or just search Club on the App Store as well. Right, what should we do first? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, first of all, those of you asking in the chat, I'm going to put a link to FPL Joe's website. I just think it's really useful. That link didn't work. Have I got to include the... Yeah, right. So what happens when you go on the website? You basically get this, and you have all the matches, and you can have a look. So if we look at Arsenal, you can just see how it's changing in terms of what people think happened. So this is all, but if I go the last like 12 hours, for example, and I look at estimated goals, that hasn't changed very much. But if you look at a game that's today, for example, like Liverpool, this is what we're talking about on stream. 6 hours, like massively predicting. There was a massive drop in Chelsea predicted goals at 10 this morning. Don't really know. I'll be interested to see if the lineup, because this often happens if there's an early thought of a lineup that someone's missing. But I don't know who that would be, because we basically already knew all the Chelsea injuries. But anyway, I'll leave it in the... I'll leave the link there, and if you want to check it out, it's just a really... I love data, right? I love a graph like this. I think this is so interesting. Not that I take particularly much from it, but yeah. Anyway, fantasy challenge first. Fantasy challenge, all assists. Right, well, I mean, how does this work? Who did I not buy? I mean, I'm buying Lacroix, right? I'm going to do last fan standing. I'm going to buy Lacroix because I was going to buy him. I'm going to buy Semenyo because I was going to get him. And I'm definitely going to buy Calvert-Lewin. I'm probably going to go Bruno because you just have to have Bruno. And then Rice. And then in goal, Hermansen, because I bought double Arsenal attack. Nice. And I'll probably go Semenyo captain. Didn't do DCL to Welbeck, so roll. Did you make a mistake? No, roll. There's never a mistake in rolling a transfer. I would say never. The Liverpool goals also dropped at the same time. Yeah, it's like they just suddenly thought, there's going to be less goals in this game. Yeah. Anyway, next up is anyone else I've missed or get Doku. Semenyo's just basically again I picked this team based on who's going to hurt my rank in FPL, and Lacroix, Semenyo, Hermansen, Bruno, Rice, Calvert-Lewin are probably all quite high up there. Maybe I should have Palmer because I sold him. Not that many people have Rice. Let's go Palmer instead. Last fan standing. Yes, so. Oh, I've already logged in. Cool. Last fan standing. Game week 36. So I won last week because I picked Leeds. The other one I was considering was Villa. Home to Spurs. I'm glad I did not go with that. And I think that's why a lot of people got knocked out last week. Game week 36. What are we thinking? Brighton. Pick a team to win. City. I don't mind just going City. I also don't mind Villa. Everton. I'm not. So do I need City? Like in game week 38, who are people picking in game week 38? Do I need City? It would be weird to get to the end of the season and not having used City. Although game week 38 is pretty difficult. I might want Liverpool at home to Brentford on the last day. Save City for the last week. Yeah, probably best. I don't have Arsenal to use next week either. I quite like Villa. Brighton is the obvious one. I think I might go Villa though. Because Villa do need to win this game. Villa do need to win this game. So do Brighton. True. Villa might draw. United just played Thursday. It's either Brighton or Villa. Are either of these... No, neither of them are particularly useful either week, are they? Brighton next week, Leeds away. I'm not going to pick that. Brighton is the pick, but I don't like that I've got triple Brighton and then I'm picking Brighton, whereas I feel better about picking Villa. They played so well on Thursday and they have to win this game. If they don't win this game, they put themselves in a bit of a predicament because they're only 6 points above Bournemouth, right? And Bournemouth could easily win 2 of their last 3 and overtake Villa. So Villa will want to win this. Villa could be tired. Yeah, but Burnley... Tired Villa. they'll win the Europa. Maybe I just go Brighton. It's probably the safe bet. Oh, 2 minutes until the team news comes out. I think Brighton's probably safer. What else can we do on this? Can I look at next week? Oh, no. Shame. They're probably not out yet. I just think this is fascinating. One minute to go until the team news. Cole Palmer has arrived. Palmer in the building. João Pedro in the building. I'm wondering why those markets dropped. Like, who's not playing? Oh, nice, Joe. So we can start to have a look at the following week as soon as the deadline passes. Nice. Nice. Here come the teams. Here come the lineups. Let's start with Chelsea. João Pedro, Palmer both start. Jorgensen, Gusto, Fofana, Colwell, Cucurella, Hato, Caicedo. What is this team? What is that Chelsea team? João Pedro and Palmer start, but Liverpool, Mamadashvili starts. Van Dijk, Konate, Gyökeres, Szoboszlai, Frimpong, McAllister, Jones, Gakpo, Gravenberch, Rio, Isak on the bench. So who is that at right back? Oh, so that's no Delap for Chelsea either. He's gone without Delap. So he's gone Hato, Caicedo, and Andre Santos and Enzo. Jones right back again. Sorry, one sec. It was wishful thinking. I mean, what is that lineup? You got Szoboszlai in the end. I like Szoboszlai. Enzo number 10. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that is though, because it isn't. I think it might be a back five. Because we don't have a second winger. I think it's a front two. I think this might be Palmer, João Pedro front two. It's a 5-3-2. I think it might be Palmer up front, you know. Not that I'm particularly bothered about selling him. But it might be Palmer up front. Gusto, right wing back. Cucurella, left wing back. Hato, Fofana, Colwill, centre-backs. Caicedo, Andre Santos with Enzo above in front of them. I think it might be a 5-2-1-2. Great. I'm a pretty pessimistic Chelsea fan at the moment, you can probably tell. Anyway, anyone got anything they want to talk about? Palmer and Enzo in behind João Pedro, similar to Amorim setup with United. Yeah, potentially something like that. Yeah, probably something like that. You don't dislike it. At least the man is trying something different. Yeah. I'm not sure I feel particularly confident with João Pedro in my team, but let's see. Let's see what he does. As long as Lacroix doesn't do anything crazy, it'll be all right because transfer's more valuable. Transfer's more valuable, I think. That's what I decided anyway. No Verts. Was that no? Oh, is he not in the squad? No Verts. Verts was ill. Illness. Illness. Oh. Even more reason for Szoboszlai to be the only player there that's got something going for him. Fascinated to see how this game goes. Fascinated. Um, 3-4-2-1 will make the Cucurella and Gusto move forward. Yeah, it looks like that. Cucurella, Gusto, wing backs. I mean, I don't mind that. Cucurella's and Gusto have not been great defensively recently, so yeah. Score predictions for Liverpool, Chelsea. Am I going to get anything from João Pedro? That's the question. Or am I going to start off the game week with a blank and then rely on triple City, triple Brighton, triple Arsenal? You capped O'Reilly. Good luck with that. I hope it goes well. Who's playing right back and left back for Liverpool? Well, left back is GYOKERS. Right back, people think it will be Jones again. Do I think they will continue with DEFCON? I'd be surprised if it's not there next year. Yeah. Jorgensen brace, Liverpool 2-0, 1-1. João Pedro starts. Maybe I should have just taken the points with Hill. But João Pedro has had a good season, so it's not the end of the world. 4-3 Liverpool, Palmer hat-trick. I think that would be the end of me. Think that would be the end of me. Kirk on the left. Gusto maybe have a chance of creating something. Yeah, the issue is he's not very good at doing that when he gets there. Just to troll you a little bit, if I thought of supporting a club with some passion like Palace or Brentford instead of a franchise with transfer strategy, unfortunately, as I'm sure you're aware, Alan, at the age of 27, you don't get to change who you support. What kept me from going with a Palace defender? So I don't think they keep a clean sheet in either game. And I think the transfer is more valuable for me elsewhere, is basically what it is. They won't keep a clean sheet against City, I don't think. And then it's whether they do against Everton. And if they don't, let's say Lacroix gets 6 points. Yeah, like I probably should have gone with it, but the chances are like João Pedro might score 2 and Lacroix might score 6, but there's also a possibility that João Pedro gets something. I just decided that I thought the transfer was better elsewhere. Yeah, GYOKERS in for Calvert-Lewin. I had the money to do the big upgrade, so it just felt obvious, or just it was so staring me in the face that yeah. I live in London, yeah. I've supported Chelsea all my life. West Ham will get 3 points. In a way, that's good for me because then at least Arsenal will have lots to play for, including goal difference in the final 2. You bring in SAKA for Tav and DCL to the Bournemouth main man. That's croupy. Is there any websites to your own team while the game is updating? Yes, use fpl.team or plan FPL, both of which are linked in the description. You should be able to look at your team for next week. Yep. You think you need a new theme tune for your channel? Why? What's wrong? I don't have a theme tune. Liverpool 2-1. Cool. Right. I am going to wrap up the stream there. Hopefully Chelsea can get something this morning and João Pedro can get something as well. Would I rather Arsenal win the Premier League, or I think you mean would I rather Arsenal not win the league or Tottenham get relegated? Because if you're giving me the choice of Arsenal to win the league or Tottenham to go down, I'm picking Tottenham to go down and Arsenal not to win the league. But I'd pick Arsenal not to win the league before Spurs to go down, I think. But I don't think I'm going to get either. And it's going to be a horrible, horrible few weeks as a Chelsea fan as we continue to have a rubbish end of the season. Spurs stay up, Arsenal win the league and are in a Champions League final. Bring on the summer. Bring on the summer. Anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Have a lovely weekend. Good luck in Game Week 36. And I will see you all very soon as we look ahead to next week. Bye.